Welcome to the Beach Bucket Podcast, and today we are talking about that wonderful thing called coffee with Bob Alexander from the Ocean City Coffee Company. Welcome, Bob.
Happy to be here, Gretchen. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. I think you should know I'm sitting here enjoying a cup of Pirates Blend as we speak. How are you doing on this chilly fall morning?
Well, I'm doing exceptionally well because I've already had several cups of Pirates.
Now, let me ask you, how many cups of coffee do you actually drink in the course of a day?
Well, that's a good question, and I can answer that. I start my morning with 2 cups of Pirates before I even leave my house. I'm a pretty early riser, and I look forward to that cup of coffee. When I get to my office, I usually have 1 or 2 additional cups during the course of the day. So we're looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 cups of coffee is max for me. But please understand, my day starts at about 5, and it sometimes ends at around 9 o'clock at night. So when you spread it out over those hours, that's not too bad.
Hey, no judgment. no judgment whatsoever. Now, is Pirates Blend your favorite?
Yes, it is. Pirates is my favorite. It's a medium roast, which allows, if I choose to add any kind of flavor, creamer to it, I not only can notice the flavor of the creamer, I still can enjoy the taste of that coffee. So, yes, it's my number 1 go-to. It is our number 2 seller throughout the company. Our Ocean City Blend is our number 1 seller. I do like that as well, but predominantly I stick to the Pirates.
Hey there, this is Gretchen Ritter, and you are listening to the Beach Bucket Podcast. I've spent most of my life eating food from great restaurants all up and down the East and West Coast. Here at Beach Bucket Podcast, we are sampling food from the greatest family resort on the East Coast, Ocean City. So pull up a stool and enjoy the Beach Bucket Podcast. In doing a little research for this podcast, I was always under the assumption the darker the roast, the more caffeinated. That's not accurate, is it?
No, it's not. And when I used to run our flagship location, which is up on the boardwalk, 916 boardwalk, to be specific, I used to take great pleasure in asking customers coming in. I put them through a little Jeopardy quiz. Now, what do you think of these 3 coffees has the most caffeine in it? And the first one would be the Ocean City Blend, our number 1 seller. Second being Pirates, number 2. And third would be a French roast. A French roast is considered a dark roast, and the Pirates is a medium, and the first is a light or a breakfast blend. So 99 out of 100 people would say, well, that's easy. That's the dark roast.
Sure.
And that is not the case at all. In fact, when we're roasting and we're doing a dark roast, we are actually burning a lot of the caffeine out of that bean.
Okay.
So it's a misnomer in that people think because it's the darker, the stronger the taste, the more caffeine in it, and it is not true. Actually, our Ocean City Blend is very, very light, and if you want a jolt in the morning, that's what I recommend you drink.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because that makes sense. Caffeine is not associated with taste, right?
Right.
And the roast is just the darkness, right?
Right.
And that affects the taste.
That's correct, Gretchen. Since we do our own roasting, we've got a pretty good handle on this. So if you were to look at these different beans as they came out of the roasting machine, you would see the bean getting darker in color, with the darkest being, in this case, the French roast, which I mentioned, and we have others that we offer. Sumatra is another dark roast. Black and Tan is a dark roast. Actually, it's a mixture. But when that comes out, it is pretty dark, and it sort of has an oily look to it as well.
Now, how long does the roasting process take? I'm sure it fluctuates depending on the type of coffee.
Well, there's a number of variables that are associated with roasting. One of which is the temperature and the time. So for all of our beans and all the various single origin and blended beans that we offer, we have different roast levels and different times. Not enormous amount of different time, but in general terms, we're talking about from the moment we drop the beans from the hopper into the roasting machine to where it comes out into the cooling station. It's roughly 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. And it makes that great smell.
Yes, it does. That's what draws a lot of people into our shop.
I'm sure.
They can smell that out on the boardwalk.
You have 2 locations on the boardwalk, correct?
That is correct. We have one at 9th Street, and again, that's our flagship location, 916 Boardwalk. A second location on the boardwalk is 10th Street, 1066 Boardwalk. We're actually in partnership there with a lot of folks will know the Jillies up on the boardwalk.
Okay.
And then we have a shop on Asbury Avenue, which is 917 Asbury, which is where my office is. We also have a shop in Media, Pennsylvania. We opened that up approximately 3 years ago. It's an interesting story there. It was a husband and wife team. She was a school teacher, and he is and still is a police officer, and her brother-in-law, who is a lieutenant colonel, I believe, in the Army, they decided they wanted to open up a coffee shop. And they came to our owners, Calvin Corvée and Joan Williamson. Joan owns the majority of the business, and therefore I often refer to our business as a female-owned business.
Sure.
Which I'm very proud to work for. But they were very interested. They came and spoke with Calvin and Joan. Calvin and Joan went out and looked at the location that they had, which is on State Street in Media, right down from the courthouse, right in front of a parking lot. It was the perfect location.
Nice.
To open up a coffee company. And they have been great partners. Their shop was designed after our flagship location, using some newer materials, but very nice location. A lot of my family lives in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and they've been to that shop, and they have often commented how much they admire the appearance of that shop. Obviously, everything that's served in that shop is identical to any of our other shops in Ocean City. That's part of the deal. The beans that you buy off the shelf in Media are the same beans that you buy off the shelf in Ocean City. It's all roasted on the beach, as we say, in Ocean City, New Jersey.
That's fantastic. And you just take the beans up there a couple times a week? Is that how it works?
Correct.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, so you actually have 4 locations.
Actually, we have 5.
Okay.
And I like to present it this way, Gretchen. Actually, in everybody's home, we have a location. It's called our website. It's oceancitycoffee.com. So if you can't come to one of our 4 locations, you can always go online and order our coffee. So that is a major contributor to our business. We ship all over the United States. We have, in cases, shipped overseas as well.
Do you do a lot of online orders?
Oh my goodness, yes, we do.
That's fantastic.
We're very happy to say that we have a very loyal base of customers. You know, Ocean City is a very popular vacation resort. And as a result of that, we have a lot of out-of-towners coming during the summer season. They find out that we're on the boardwalk. They try our product, and they go home and they order it from the comfort of their sofa at home.
That's fantastic. It's funny because it carries over. It really does. I go in there on the daily and get my cup of Pirate's Blend and do an hour and a half of work on my computer at the table in the corner by the window, and then we'll come home and do my audio editing. It's part of my routine, and I see the same people and have great conversations, and there's this local vibe, and my family gets coffee from you guys every Christmas, and but how that carries over, and people that aren't local, how you have this following, and that as a local person, I don't take into account how big your mail order business must be. That's fantastic.
Yes, and I have a short but a pretty comical story for you in regards to our website. And this really came to our attention during COVID when it was at its peak, and a lot of people were stuck at home. So a lot of our customers that typically would come into the shops are now doing all their ordering over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we happened to notice that we were getting an order every month from a woman that wanted Kona.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an Hawaiian bean. And her address was in Hawaii.
Interesting.
So in noticing this, our director of operations said, I can't with a clear conscience continue to do this without calling this young lady. And we contacted her and said, listen, we truly appreciate your business. We can't thank you enough, but we do want to bring to your attention that the bean that you're getting delivered to you is actually grown in your backyard.
Right.
And her response to us was, yes, I know that very well, but you're the only company that roasts Kona to my liking.
Oh.
So to this very day, she continues to order Kona from us, although she could go to the local corner store and pick it up.
That's fantastic.
So it's, just shows the level of commitment that our customers have. They were very supportive during COVID. I'm happy to say that because of this loyalty, we were able to keep employees employed
Mm-hmm.
and to keep the business running.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's carried on, it sounds like.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Have you found that people are coming back into the shop post summer, or people hanging out again?
Yeah, Gretchen, in my opinion, and I've talked to some of my merchant friends about this in Ocean City, we've seen a rise in visits into the shops. Clearly, the boardwalk is an evidence of that. If you go out there on a July night and you can't see the wood that makes up the boardwalk because there's so many people out there.
Sure.
So I think a lot of people that had been stuck at home decided that they were going to take advantage of now being set free, and they were going to come down to Ocean City. What better place to come than Ocean City, New Jersey?
Mm-hmm.
And we're finding too that this isn't only in the weekends or during the weekends. This is also during the week as well. So the day trippers
Mm-hmm.
seem to be up in volume as well. And if this weather continues the way it's been, we're liable to have people sitting on the beach in December.
Yeah, the weather's been unbelievable.
And that certainly helps our business as well as any of the other merchants
Mm-hmm.
that are still open.
Mm-hmm. How do you ever try your competitors' coffee?
Well, I'm a very loyal employee. I have found that I stick with one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not to say that I haven't had other coffee,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so easy for me to get.
Sure.
It would sort of be silly for me to go out of my way to get coffee elsewhere. And I'm not saying that anyone else's coffee is not comparable.
Sure.
We feel that we're presenting a gourmet cup of coffee every time we brew.
Mm-hmm.
So I stick with what I know best.
How about Wawa? You ever go into Wawa for coffee?
Gretchen, before I started working for the coffee company, that was my place to go.
Was it?
Wawa. Yeah, I would go there the majority of the time. Dunkin' Donuts was probably next in line.
Mm-hmm.
But, in one of my previous jobs, I worked remotely, and I would get up in the morning, I'd do my morning run, and then I'd stop at Wawa and I'd get myself an extra large coffee, and that would get me through the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go to my office and I can get coffee anytime during the day I want it. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, it is. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Now, does your family and friends all get coffee for the holidays?
Oh my goodness, yes. And my family loves the coffee company. I think if they weren't employed elsewhere, they'd all want to work for the Ocean City Coffee Company. It's a topic of discussion anytime I'm at a family affair. The first question that usually comes up is, Bob, how's the coffee company going? So
Uh-huh.
they're all interested in knowing about it. It's just wholesome. It's family owned. It's just goodness in my belief.
Well,
And,
getting a cup of coffee, there's so much more to it. People fall in love over coffee. People come up with ideas and make plans for their life and, solve problems and study for school. And, life happens over coffee. And I know going into Ocean City Coffee Company on the regular over at 9th and Asbury, you see the same faces. And you don't necessarily know the names, but you have conversations, and you know the dogs' names. You know the dogs' names, though.
Yeah, we're dog friendly at that. But
yeah,
we not only take care of our two-legged friends, we take care of our four-legged friends as well.
Yeah, I love that.
And believe it or not, some of those doggies that come in, they really have it down. They come right up to the counter and they know exactly what's coming next.
They do.
And we give them a small treat, and they're as happy as can be.
Yeah, I love that location. It's fantastic. And
thank you.
When you're hiring, what are you looking for in a barista?
Well, I happen to do all the hiring when it comes to baristas for the Ocean City Coffee Company. I think in the years that I've been here, I've probably gone through somewhere between 300 to 400 kids in interviews. Really, what I'm looking for is somebody willing to learn, someone that is able to engage in conversation with an adult, that adult being me. Mm-hmm. That's key. There's three things that we commit to in this business. And the first is obviously the best possible gourmet cup of coffee that we can produce. And we do that on a daily basis. Secondly, and this is a very important thing to me, is superb customer service. Mm-hmm. And I ask the kids when they come in to really define, what they believe good customer service. And when they're struggling answering that question, I'll say, okay, let's turn the tide around. What's going to make you think that, after leaving this shop, whatever shop it may be, it doesn't have to be our coffee shop, what's going to make you come back and to that shop and continue to do your business there? And it's usually through those kinds of questions I'm able to determine whether a lot of these kids are going to be good greeters, able to engage in conversation with customer, help them out. So that, I'm looking for that. Mm-hmm. That's a key factor in that. We train from soup to nuts. We're not expecting anyone to come in and know how to make all our drinks. Even if you've worked at a competitor's location, most likely we're making the drinks differently. So in a lot of ways, sometimes it's easier when they don't have that previous experience. Although I've had some that have come to us and have a pretty solid background in coffee, and they do learn very quickly.
Sure.
But the third and final thing is that we have an environment that is very, very clean. Now, this was obviously very critical during COVID. We were already doing those things. We were already keeping our shops clean, sanitized. So it was not a major obstacle for us to overcome when we had to abide by the laws coming out of the CDC or out of the state of New Jersey. So, and we continue to do those things today.
Well, your baristas have always been friendly. They're always nice. You know, it's a great environment there.
Thank you.
It is my favorite coffee shop on the island. Let me ask you a few questions about other foods. Where's your favorite breakfast place?
What's my favorite breakfast place? Well, it happens to be across the street from my office. It's Hooked on Breakfast.
Oh, yes.
I know the owners there, Kevin and Alicia. And it was during COVID, I actually sold them because I was working the shop during COVID, Asbury. I actually sold them finishing that building, not knowing what it was going to be at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So once that opened, I was pretty anxious to get over there. And if a customer comes into our shop, and this is the great thing about Ocean City, and it's just not Hooked on Breakfast. It can be any number of places. We all are in this together, you know. If we can help each other, that's what we're going to do.
Of course.
I like to think if somebody comes into, and I know for a fact they do this, to Hooked on Breakfast and they want a latte, well, they don't make that drink. They're going to recommend our shop. If somebody comes into our shop and they're looking for, great pancakes, great omelets, etc., we're going to recommend going over to Hooked on Breakfast or other places in town.
Sure.
But we all benefit from each other.
Absolutely. How about pizza? Where do you order your pizzas from?
Now,
there's so many options.
I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
How could I not? How could I not?
You know.
And you don't have to give me just one. How about top three?
I have. I think I've tried them all. Obviously there was a time before I started working down here in Ocean City, I used to travel 50 minutes, almost an hour, to come down and have Manco and Manco pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to say that was a draw for me. My kids loved it. So we'd come down and we'd have pizza and we'd go back home. Now that I live down here, of course, I go to Mac and Manco, but I also go to Saka Subs. There's a number of places up on the boardwalk that I've been to as well. They all provide a slightly different form of pizza. So it's pretty easy to if I want pizza, I don't think I'm going to have a problem picking a place to get something that I know is going to be good.
Sure.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah, they really are. It's hard. You can't find a bad slice on the island, I think. It's pretty tough.
It's great.
Yeah. One last question for you. Are people still drinking lattes and mochas, or are we shifting back to the just let's have a good cup of coffee? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the age group. I think the younger kids, college kids, even high school kids, I notice this when I'm in the shop. They like those novelty. I call them novelty drinks.
Mm-hmm.
The cappuccinos, the lattes, you name dirty hippies, or just straight espresso. They like those fancy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I think the majority or the base customers are really there for the gourmet coffee. And then they're doctoring that up the way they like it. I don't have specific numbers to say one's more popular than another, but from my experience, when I'm running the shop, which is not often these days, it's a good mix of both. But the people that come in first thing in the morning, they're going over to that self-serve coffee.
100%.
They can't wait for that.
There have been times where I've forgot to pay first, like I go to the coffee station first and then catch myself. I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone.
One morning I got a call from the manager of Asbury, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. She said, "Bob, there's no way I can come in today. I'm so sorry. And I don't know who to call. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's not too many people who can call." So I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll go in and open the shop." So I got myself up, dressed, and I only live a few blocks away. I no sooner had the key in the door, and I had a gentleman behind me.
Was he mad?
Waiting. I said, "Sir, I'm going to be happy to help you. You got to give me a few minutes to get this coffee ready." And he sat there and he waited for it, and he was on his way. But he was definitely the first man in line that morning.
I bet it's serious business. It's serious business when you're messing with people's coffee. You know?
Absolutely.
People waiting at the door, I have no doubt. Well, Bob, I appreciate you spending time with me today and giving us the lowdown about Ocean City Coffee Company. I'm sure I will run into you soon when I am in line for my Pirates blend, and thank you for being here.
Gretchen, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for thinking of the Ocean City Coffee Company. We do appreciate you giving us this time as well.